So next is my portion of the expo. So I'm going to talk about our new experiment platform and a little bit about my background there. So I don't know if you guys can see my slides there. Make sure those come up. Okay, good. So, my name is James Burk. I am the director of IT for the Mars Society. I've been in that position for about 10 years. It's actually my anniversary next month. And I'm really proud to be an advisor to the Marscoin project as well. A couple of necessary disclaimers for my talk. I am not an investment advisor, and I'm not a security broker dealer. All these things we're talking about are not financial advice. Do your own research with all cryptocurrencies and all investments. And you want to always follow the applicable laws in your region, and wherever you live in the world, there's going to be laws that govern cryptocurrency and trading online. I always follow those. I make sure that I claim all the cryptocurrency that I buy and sell on my taxes. And I just, you want to always be above board with this stuff. There's enough rampant fraud in this industry that you don't want to be part of the problem. And then finally, my opinions are my own. I am not speaking for any organization in this talk. These are my opinions. So my personal journey with Marscoin, it kind of goes back a ways. And I want to bring in also kind of how I got started with my career, which is back in the year 1998. And like on this slide, really before 1998, nothing matters. It was prehistoric times. Back in 1998, I had just graduated college. I got a job at Microsoft working as a technical project manager. And that year also was the year that the Mars Society started, and that was in 1998. I joined the Mars Society early on, and I was one of the founding members, and I led our Seattle chapter since then. And it was a great organization, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, but one of the best projects I think that have come out of the Mars Society are some of these projects that are trying to advance human settlement. And Marscoin is really trying to solve the idea of the economy on Mars. And so, Bitcoin was invented. I actually downloaded Bitcoin very early on and tried it out on my laptop. It was early enough that all you really needed to mine was your CPU. And I let it run for a couple hours at work. And I came back and I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, I'm not going to use these Bitcoins. I don't even know what they are. They're worthless. So I deleted it. And yeah, that was kind of dumb. But I wasn't the only one, back then. Nobody really took Bitcoin seriously. There had been lots of digital currencies that people had ideas for, but there was never enough critical mass with previous projects. I could think of one called Flues back in the .com era that was trying to be a digital currency. They even had a credit card, but did not work out. So that was kind of on my mind. Also around the time Mt. Gox was a thing, I also had some Bitcoin in Mt. Gox, and I'm still trying to get that back. I have half a Bitcoin in there. But then Marscoin came along in 2014. The Mars Society, we have an annual convention, and Leonard submitted an abstract and said, I want to talk about my cryptocurrency project, and we accepted him. And he came and talked, and I edited that video that year, put it up on YouTube, and it's still there. Just created a new version of it on the Marscoin YouTube channel, but Leonard gave a talk, and he talked about the project. He talked about how he was donating the first 500,000 coins to the Mars Society, and then another 500,000 to the Mars One project, which was very popular at the time. And Leonard was one of the Mars One contestants or candidates. But then, a couple years went by, and Mars One was not going to be successful. It was clear. And so Leonard and I both reached out and to Bas Lansdorp, who's the founder of Mars One, and said, hey, you guys aren't going to use those Mars coins. Why don't you give those to the Mars Society? And he agreed. And so now the Mars Society actually has all 1 million, which is great. The other thing that happened recently is we got, as Leonard mentioned, we got listed on some exchanges this year. It's been a really wild year so far, 2021, and it's only it's not even half over. You know, there's still a couple days until the halfway mark of the year, but it's been a crazy year so far for Marscoin. There's been a lot that's happened. Not just us getting listed on these awesome exchanges like xt.com and FinXbox and DexTrade, but also all these imitation tokens that have come along, you know, trying to copy us. It's really easy to create an Ethereum token, but an Ethereum token is not a cryptocurrency. It does not have its own blockchain like the Marscoin project does. So they're pretty poor imitations of what we're doing here. And then of course, the last thing that happened was this. So I want to talk a little bit about this. I get a lot of questions about this because Elon is part of the Mars Society. He was, you know, on our board back in 2002 after he founded PayPal. We actually have a building named after him at the Mars Desert Research Station. So was he trying to pump Marscoin like he's pumping Doge? At the time, everyone thought that's what he was doing. He actually was talking in general about a cryptocurrency project called Marscoin. He was not aware of Marscoin in this moment. I would have to imagine by now he is, based on how many times we've all tweeted at him about Marscoin, including myself. But at this time, in this moment, back in February of this year, he was not aware of the project. But I would say this, I would say we are the kind of project he was talking about. He was talking about using cryptocurrency to build a Martian economy. He was talking about using cryptocurrency to advance Mars settlement, Mars exploration, humans to Mars. And that's what our project is all about. So even though he wasn't talking about us on the surface, he kind of was talking about us because we are the kind of project that he meant. And so this had a huge effect on our project. It brought a lot of new people in. Obviously, the price of Marscoin shot up that day and was up for a while. But you know, this is not the first time. This was not going to be the last time that an event like this would happen. I'm sure it will happen again because there's a lot to our project. There's a lot of things about it that are very appealing to people, and I have no doubt that in the future we're going to have more interest like that. Now I want to talk a little bit about the Mars Society, which I'm part of. I'm the IT director and a founding member. We're the world's largest nonprofit organization dedicated to sending people to Mars, and we are fully in support of Marscoin. We have 1 million Marscoin that we're holding. We're holding them long term. I do not personally make those decisions. It's our president, Dr. Robert Zubrin, that makes all the financial decisions about the organization, including whether or not to hold Marscoin. And I can tell you, he is very excited about this project. He once said to me, you know, if we hold on to it long enough and it's worth $1,000 a unit, we're going to be a $1 billion organization. And that's not out of the realm of possibility, considering how Bitcoin has done in the last 15 years, you know, 16 years. Back then, Bitcoin was worthless, you know, worth around a couple pennies. And now it's worth, as of today, over $30,000, and it has been worth over 60,000 this year. So we're definitely behind Marscoin. Because we're a nonprofit organization, however, we do need to be careful about how we deal with cryptocurrency. And I've done a lot of research, I'll talk about this a little bit more later, about how nonprofits should handle crypto. And we decided in 2019 to announce that we were going to take donations in Bitcoin and other currencies like Marscoin. And that was after a lot of thought and research. So we definitely will take donations. In addition to the 1 million we already have of Marscoin, people have given us additional amounts, and we will custodian these and hold on to them and use them to help advance human settlement of Mars. The Mars Society's main project is the Mars Desert Research Station. And the Mars Desert Research Station is a facility in southern Utah. This is a real picture. This is not a mock-up. These are two people walking outside using simulated analog spacesuits. That's the whole goal of the station, is that you go there, you pretend to live and work on Mars for 1 to 2 weeks, and you practice what it's going to be like, all the human factors challenges. I was fortunate enough to be on a mission there in 2019 or 2018. I was the executive officer of crew 197 at the station. And I will be going back to command my first crew later this year in December. Leonard mentioned that I'm also going to bring along a couple of experiments that are related to Marscoin as well. But back in 2018, we had a lot of fun. Our crew, you can see us here. You know, we had a lot of great experiences at the station. We were able to explore the area. We could get on rovers called Polaris EVs, and they're kind of like electronic off-road golf carts, kind of like a cross between a golf cart and a pickup truck. And we were able to, you know, visit this large canyon system. There's actually a dinosaur dig site a little bit north of the station that was found. Pretty major dinosaur find that we found just because we were out there at the Mars Society. And now it's a major dig site. And so there's a lot of great things that you can do in that area. It's a Mars analog location, so it's geologically just like Mars. That's why we picked that area. And so oftentimes folks will come and bring experiments around geology, biology, trying to understand the science of the area, trying to understand how life is living in the Utah desert. Huge temperature swings, huge fluctuations over the course of the year, all the way from over 100-degree heat, which they're having right now, to snow on the ground in the winter. It's very cold at night in the winter, and so I'm going to look forward to that. But you know, my role with the Mars Society and my role with Marscoin, I just want to talk a little bit about. As I mentioned, I've done a lot of research on cryptocurrencies and how they relate to nonprofits. Nonprofits basically handle cryptocurrency the way that they would handle any other property, but they need to be careful. They can't come out and, you know, pump a cryptocurrency, for example. So a lot of times we get requests to do that, and we have to be careful about it. And I mentioned, yeah, I became a blockchain expert earlier this year, but I feel the same as I did before. You know, there's been a lot of things that, you know, a lot of certifications I've picked up over the years. That was my latest one, but you know, I see myself overall as a software developer, and my role with Marscoin is to help advise us on software development. And so some of my past projects, you know, I mentioned the ones with the Mars Society. Some of my software projects with Mars Society include the Marspedia encyclopedia, Mars VR, which is a project that we just raised $100,000 through a Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign to fund. We're doing a bunch of development this summer around Mars VR, and I'm really excited about that. I had a question earlier of, are we going to tie in Marscoin with Mars VR? I would say we probably are. We just haven't figured out exactly what to do, and we haven't announced anything yet. The virtual convention we did last year was a great event, and I was able to interview Elon Musk. If I get to do that again, I will definitely ask him about Marscoin and what he thinks about our project. And when I was over at Microsoft, you know, I had the opportunity to work on a lot of different things, as you can see on the slide. But the biggest one I want to talk about today is the EXP platform. This was an experimentation platform that Microsoft built to do what's called A/B testing. And essentially what that means is that if you have a service or a website with a bunch of users, you can show a small percentage of those users a new feature, and see whether they use it as intended, whether they like it, kind of see their reaction to it before you ramp it up to all 100% of your user base. And so we often would use that platform when I worked on the MSN portal, which was at the time the largest website in the world, millions of users per day. It was the homepage of Internet Explorer. So you can imagine everyone that like turned on their computer and went on the internet, that's the first thing they saw a lot of times. So we had news on there, we had topical channels on there, and I worked on a lot of that stuff. I was on that in that group for 7 years. Towards the end, worked on the EXP platform. I actually worked on some of the first Twitter and Facebook modules that they had on MSN back when social media was brand new. And we used the EXP platform to test out how Facebook and Twitter could be best used by the user base of MSN. And so what I want to do is take some of those learnings and bring them into Marscoin. And I want to do that by using Agile development practices. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what that means, what Agile development means. Of course, if we're going to talk about a technology topic, first we need to start with a Dilbert cartoon. That's a must. So Agile is a way, instead of the traditional approach where you throw a bunch of developers at a problem and lock them away in a room for a year or two, and then out comes some software that maybe fits what you're trying to do and maybe doesn't, and you've now spent millions of dollars to build the software. Instead of doing it that approach, you do it more lightweight. You have quick releases, you work on minimum viable products, you have a feedback loop where you show people what you're working on and you get their feedback and incorporate that in. One concept is to fail fast. If you have an idea that's not going to work out, try it out so you can get the data quickly and then move on. Try to iterate on what you're trying to do. And so with Agile programming methodologies like Scrum and Scaled Agile, you can actually innovate quickly. That's the whole point. And most technology companies have now moved to use Agile programming as part of their normal course of operations. In fact, if you look at some of the very large websites out there like Facebook and other large websites, YouTube, Etsy, eBay, they will all be using continuous experimentation processes, continuous delivery pipelines, where they're actually releasing new features to small amounts of users all the time, testing out how those features are going with those users, and then either pulling them back, turning them off, or ramping them up to 100% of the users. So, you know, a company like Facebook, they might have thousands of experiments happening at once all the time. So the version of Facebook I see is different than the version you see because there's all these experiments that we're both getting because they're trying to test out new concepts. And so that's the idea of what we'd like to do with the Marscoin experiment platform. There's 3 principles I want to talk about. These are the principles of the Scrum methodology: transparency, adaptation, and inspection. What these mean is, you know, transparency, we all know what's going on. We have full visibility into what the team is trying to do. The fact that I'm a guinea pig, you know, I'm participating in an experiment, what that means to me, having an ability to opt out if I want to. Transparency, sharing the results, that's important. Adaptation, so once we get some data and figure out how things are going, we adapt. We make changes midstream. We make sure that we're doing the experiment, the set of experiments to fit the problem we're trying to solve or to develop the functionality we're trying to deliver. Adaptation is important, changing your plan based on new information coming in. And finally, inspection, rigorous capturing of data, determining the metrics, the ways you're going to measure the experiment, the ways you're going to determine success of the experiment. What is your overall criteria for success? What's the one metric you want to increase? And making sure that the data is being captured and analyzed regularly. So these are all part of what we're going to do. So our goals with the experiment platform are three. We want to improve the Marscoin ecosystem. We want to showcase interesting projects, and we want to advance Mars-related research. We want to advance all the research that the Mars Society is doing and that we need to do to settle Mars, to send humanity to Mars. So again, our three pillars. For transparency, each experiment will have a published goal. It'll have a timeline. It'll have a start and end. And if it's successful, then we'll ramp it up to be part of Marscoin long term. Or we may do a follow-on experiment that builds on the first one. We also will do regular status reporting. You'll be able to come to the Marscoin website and other locations to find out how these are going. We will also publish the results of each experiment. There will likely be research papers we write as part of our experiments, and those will be published and shared with the community as well. Adaptation. Being part of the community means you have a voice in what we're doing with Marscoin. And so we will reach out to everyone to get feedback. We will monitor the feedback in all of our social media and community channels like Discord and Telegram to see what people think. Each experiment will have a principal investigator, which is the person that is responsible for determining how the experiment is going and whether it's meeting the goals. And so all the feedback will be given to the principal investigator for them to determine how to adapt. And then finally, inspection. Coming up with the key metrics and the key performance indicators, the overall evaluation criterion, which is the one metric that is determining whether the experiment is successful. And so these metrics will inform how the experiments are going from a quantitative perspective. So here are some things we can do with the Marscoin blockchain that can advance our goals. For Mars settlement, creating processes and tools that allow the communities on Mars to function. And we can test this out now with the Analog Research Station in Utah and with other projects that people are doing. We can start to prototype out these processes and tools that are ultimately going to be used on Mars. We can do that today. And the Mars Society has a great track record of working in that manner. Next, resource logistics. We talked about that. Leonard talked about that. Leveraging the blockchain to track resources, to transact resources, tracking their creation, how many there are, their transportation. You can imagine the favorite analogy I like to use for resources logistics on the blockchain is if I go to the grocery store and I pick up a piece of fruit and there's a QR code on it and I can scan the QR code and the QR code is tied to a blockchain, I can know immediately where this piece of fruit was grown, all the steps it took to get to the grocery store, like how long it's spent in the warehouse, how long it's spent on refrigeration trucks, and I'll know all that instantly if that piece of fruit is tracked on the blockchain. And so we want to apply this resource logistics to Mars. We want to track when you create oxygen out of the Martian atmosphere, when you create materials on Mars for maybe you create methane fuel, or you create building materials out of the rocks and the dirt and the carbon on Mars. All these things are resources that we can track, and we can use the Marscoin blockchain to get information about them, but also to facilitate economics, facilitate their transportation and their sale. If Marscoin as a currency is an exchange medium, then Marscoin can directly be used to purchase those resources as well, in addition to tracking them. Elections and voting. So, there's a lot in the news these days outside the space science community and the Marscoin and the cryptocurrency community. There's a lot of news about elections and how broken they are. Well, you know, the blockchain could do a lot to fix elections, and we want to try to pilot out in the context of small communities, what you would have on Mars. We want to pilot out how you would do polling and voting. And we're going to try that out at the Mars Desert Research Station among my crew of 6 to 8 people. We're going to do polls and do voting on small issues using the Marscoin blockchain. And then finally, economic enablers. So smart contracts and immutable ledgers, next generation exchanges and wallets. Those are all things we can experiment with as well. So here are the 6 areas that we're going to initially focus on. So metadata and text-based information. I'll just kind of read these off in interest of time. File attachments, using IPFS for file attachments on the blockchain. Creating a map of Mars and location selection. This will be important for Matt Wise's project that he's going to talk about today. Inventory and resource management, as I mentioned, polls, voting, elections, but also identity services, having a private and secure cryptography system to trust your identity while you're voting to prevent double voting. And then finally, smart contracts. Smart contracts are a really interesting area where you can actually take a real contract that you'd have in business of, you know, if you do these 3 things, you'll get paid. Or if you trade this, you know, if you give me this resource, I'll give you this resource. Putting that all into code so that if the conditions are met, the funds are automatically released. That's the idea of a smart contract. So we'll be adding that to Marscoin in the near future. This is our current plan for experiments. Right after this event, Leonard and I are going to hunker down and try to get the metadata and file storage experiments going. We want to run these experiments here roughly 3 months. You can see the principal investigator and the overall evaluation criterion. There will be other metrics as well that we establish for these, but essentially we want to do 3-month experiments and publish the results and see how these are going before we roll them out fully to the platform, to the wallets and to the explorers and to the blockchain. Matt Wise will talk about the land claim one today. And then the last 2 are ones that, as Leonard mentioned, I'll be trying out during my mission at MDRS. We will have some additional releases and more information about those prior to me going out there in December. So I have 10/1 as sort of the start date on the screen for those. But yeah, we're very excited about this area of experiments, and there's a lot of innovation that we believe we can get accomplished by taking this approach. And we'd love to get the help of the community with all this. So if you're interested in doing your own experiment on the Marscoin blockchain, reach out to us. We'll have a way for you to submit your idea in the very near future on our website. And you can also watch our website for the latest details on how all these are going. And so I'll be, as I mentioned, this is the crew I'll be working with in December. They're a great crew. I'm the only American. They're all French and Belgian, so I'm studying French right now. But we're really excited. We're going to have at least 2 Marscoin related experiments during our 2-week mission in December. We also have many other experiments that we've been working on with the Mars science community. Some robotic experiments, some health experiments, also trying to instrument Internet of Things devices in the Mars Desert Research Station habitat and campus to collect data. We're also going to fly a drone to capture some more footage for Mars VR and to scout out more VR locations. But Marscoin is a first-class experiment during our crew as well. So that brings me to the end of my prepared remarks. I'd love now to take any questions that folks have.
Yeah, James, you have a couple of questions that came up. One is, does the Mars Society actually own the land the MDRS is on?
So that's a great question. We don't. It is federal land. It's Bureau of Land Management managed land. we have a lease. It's a long-term lease and it gets renewed. So we have to be good custodians of the land. We have certain mission rules, like we can't drive the rovers and ATVs anywhere we want. We have to stay on designated paths. But we'll be there long-term. We're not planning to shut down MDRS anytime soon. It's been a great project so far.
Awesome. And with regard to smart contracts, is there any goals, plans to bring smart contracts? You mentioned it in your talk, so maybe if you could just reiterate on the smart contract ideas.
Yeah, no, I'm really, as I mentioned, really interested in that. And I really want to see us find an implementation for smart contracts. So that is definitely something we want to do as an experiment or just a core addition to the platform.
Okay, and then a question, when will the Marscoin have its own Wikipedia page? I know that.
Wikipedia is a very interesting platform. We have a draft page, and so it's out there, draft:Marscoin. So you can check that out and, arm wrestle the editors to approve us. I think we're in a process where they take a few months to approve us. And yeah, we're hopefully going to see that up there soon.
It's actually a very impressive Marscoin draft page. It's just interesting how hard it is, I guess, as a cryptocurrency to get approved, even if you have history and academic papers.
Yes.
And then there's a final question. Are you at Marscoin looking for any contributions in terms of agile methodologies?
Yes, I mean, in terms of ideas, yeah, absolutely. I talked about taking an agile approach for development. I think as we start doing some more full-time software development on the experiments and on Marscoin itself, I think we can bring in Scrum as a methodology to use. But the whole point I was trying to make is we want to fail fast, right? We want to get code out there and see how it works and make changes to it so that it's as good as it can possibly be. That's how you innovate, taking an agile approach as opposed to a traditional software development approach that might take several months or years to get anything done. We want to go faster than that.
Okay, and then I have a final question here for you. What kind of roles are available on the team?
We need all kinds of help for the Marscoin project, as you know, Leonard. I mean, we definitely folks that have development experience with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, have experience with C++ and Qt, which is what our wallet is built in. Qt is the UI platform. But there's all kinds of non-technical help we need too for the Marscoin community. I mean, just helping us manage all of our social media and all of our different community channels like Discord and Telegram. We have a really great Discord server, and kudos to all the moderators and folks that are participating in there every day. I'm always amazed to go into Discord and see the great discussions happening. Telegram too, thanks to everyone that helps out in there. But so if you're a non-technical person, if you're not a software developer, but you want to help the project, there are lots of ways for you to do that. Even things like creating memes. I mean, those are fun. You saw a few of those at the beginning of the session today that our community has created. Definitely keep your pulse on what's going on in the cryptocurrency world and try to make a meme that riffs off of what's going on. That's always fun to see.
I have another one for you. How many locations are there in the world which mimic the Mars environment? And is it a possibility to have multiple MDRS?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's quite a few locations actually, and there are other research stations that focus on Mars analog and moon analog research. We actually created our first research station up in the Arctic back in the year 2000 up in Canada. It's called the Flashline Mars Arctic Research Station. As you can imagine, it's a little expensive to send people out there because it's in the Arctic Circle. So we don't go there every year, but we were going there for a while. It was much easier for us to have a location in Utah in the continental US that we can more easily manage and send people to. And so that's why we built the Mars Desert Research Station. But there are many others around the world. There's one they're building in the Emirates, in Dubai, the UAE, that will be a large multi-million-dollar Mars analog facility. China also has built one in the Gobi Desert that's a very large multi-million-dollar facility. And there are several others in Europe and the US as well. I would say probably a dozen around the world right now.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, thanks everyone.